What's up, guys? We're working on this 22 Ford Ranger. We are going to be replacing a transmission, and first thing you're going to do is, of course, disconnect the battery. And once you have disconnected it, well, first things first, you want to get the vehicle in neutral. Make sure vehicle's in neutral. Just shift it to neutral, turn the vehicle off, disconnect the battery. We're going to remove all the skid plates. Already got them removed. See, completely goes in engine transmission. Next thing is we're going to remove the starter, and starter is going to be right up here, up above oil filter. Just the connectors, remove the bolts, and then we're going to go underneath. So to remove the starter, just to kind of sum it down, you're going to remove all the connectors. This will focus. You're going to unbolt that. This entire wire harness is going to go, and then you're going to expose the bracket that holds the starter in place. So get this out the way, get all these out the way, and then you're going to remove the brackets, and this should come right out. If you have a four-wheel drive, you're going to have to drop the oil filter. Since this is a two-wheel drive, we won't need to. This harness out the way, and then this harness out the way for the heater hoses. But there's also two grounds back there. There's one right there, other one, it's right there. So remove those two. Once you remove those two, you will be able to get these two that connect to that, and then to the right there. So unbolt those, pull this out the way, and then you're gonna expose the bracket for the starter, which is going to be right behind here. It's just going to be two screws, and once you have that, you should be able to just pull the starter right out. Alright, so we got the starter loose. End up removing the oil filter. So you have to remove that little So we are going to have to remove this little spill funnel or spill guide, and then we also removed the one on this side. It's just a little 10mm. It's going to be right up here, so we get that. And then the starter should just drop right through, and then we'll go on to the next step. Alright, now that the starter's removed, the next step, what we're going to do is you're now going to loosen the torque converter bolts. It's going to be those right there, because now that the starter's out the way, we've exposed that. So what you're going to want to do is connect to the main crank right here. It's going to be about a 21 socket, and you only want to rotate it clockwise. So rotate it. These are about 14. Just gonna fit your wrench in there, loosen them all up, throw them away, and we'll go on to the next step. This was a bit of a task, but we got all the torque converter bolts out. As you can see, they're all out, and we're gonna replace them when we put a new one in. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is you're gonna remove the rain guards, and we're gonna go ahead and remove the cat 3 bolts, 3 of them. It's going to be a 15mm. There's 3 of them. It's a bit hard to reach, so you're going to have to improvise, but we'll get these out and then we'll go underneath the vehicle. Okay, so next step, what you're going to do after you have loosened the catalytic converter nuts, as well as these nuts right here, to hold that, because we'll be able to push this out of the way when we drop the transmission. So next step you're going to do is you're going to remove the drive shaft, loosen those, make sure you index so you know how to properly align it when you put it back on. But you're going to remove these, then you're going to do these, you're going to index these as well, and then you're going to get some help and loosen the main bracket so that you can drop the entire shaft. And once we do that, we're going to go on to the next step. Okay, so once you have the drive shaft removed, we're going to go ahead and remove the transmission fluid. Once you get this heat shield off, you're just going to loosen the bolts in the transmission pan, and we're going to drain all the fluid, and we're going to put the pan back on. wise. So this is what I was talking about. Make sure you want to have a pan underneath. I'm having to double it up right here simply because it's making a mess. I just loosened all the bolts on this side first, and as soon as this stops filling out, I'm gonna loosen these rear ones, and then we're just gonna drop it, drain all the fluid out, and put the pan back on. All right, we got the pan removed. Now I'm just cleaning up this mess. This is probably gonna be just as messy as it is for you, as it was for me. So you're gonna let that all drain off, and then once you get your mess cleaned up, so you can continue on to the next part, we're just gonna put the pan back on, and we're gonna reinstall it. You don't have to choke them down, just put the pan back on, make sure it's somewhat tight, and we're gonna go on to the next step. Okay, so once you have the transmission pan back on, like I said, you don't need to tighten all the bolts. Just put some on, keep it in place. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the cooler. Okay, the oil cooler disconnected. There's gonna be a bolt up here, some bolts right here. Get it off, pull it off, make sure you got a little pan. You don't want the shit to get everywhere. Now we're gonna move the rest of the brackets as well as the shifter. All right, next thing, we're gonna pop these off. It's gonna be an E16. Let's get that focused, E16. Pop this off. Just gonna use like a little flathead. Pop this off, and that's now free. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna disconnect this connector. Okay, so we went ahead and disconnected the connector. We also pushed it up and out of the way. As you can see, it's no longer bracketed onto the transmission. And now we're gonna go ahead and remove these two bolts. The size they're gonna be is a 15. Just gonna get them off. Okay, so we're now at the nitty gritty. First thing you're gonna do before we start moving the transmission, support the engine, jack it up, use a piece of wood. And then you're also gonna support the transmission as we start to remove the bell housing bolts and the mounts. So we're gonna kind of put a little bit more pressure on that. And then you're gonna remove this cross member. It's gonna be 15 bolts or 15 millimeter bolts. And then these under bolts, which are gonna be a long 21 socket. And then up here for the cat, this little bracket, it's gonna be a 13. So once you get them off, we're gonna go ahead and hammer this off. And then we're gonna start removing the bell housing bolts. Okay guys, so once you have engine transmission jacked up and you've removed the cross member, you're gonna kind of lower it a bit. You're gonna lower this down a bit just to kind of angle the transmission downwards. And now we're gonna hit these bell housing bolts. You're gonna get the right side first. They're gonna be 13 millimeter. So you're gonna hit this one, those two up there. And then these bottom ones. And then you're gonna hit the left side as well. And then once we have those removed, we're gonna go ahead and lower it, and I will show you guys how to get access to the upper ones. All right, so now for the fun part. I'm gonna show you guys. As you can see all the way up there. That's a better light. You can see all the way up there. You'll see those bolts. You can see it right up there. So to get to the upper bolts, you're gonna remove that little bolt up there. It's gonna be a 13. You're gonna need a super long extension to get all the way up there. And you're also gonna hit the other side. It's gonna be way up there, right there. It's also gonna be a 13. You're gonna remove those brackets just to get those lines off the transmission. You're gonna need a really long extension for that. So once you get that off, I will show you guys where the upper transmission housing bolts are. So you can kind of already see one. You can kind of already see the other ones. They're way up there. You're gonna need a really long extension. All right guys, we're at the final step. So once you remove those bracket bolts, as you can see, bracket right there, it's gonna be a 13. Remove it, pop that off, push it aside. As you can see, just like I did right there. And you're gonna do the same side with that bracket. You're gonna push that off, pop it off. And we're gonna get the last 3 bolts. As you can see, 1, 2, and then 3 way back there. 13. So you're gonna need a long extension. Like I said, they are hard to reach. So remove them out. And now we're gonna carefully begin to be able to just lower the transmission off the vehicle. So just verify everything else is disconnected and you should be good to go. Okay, so this part got a bit messy. We ended up disconnecting the transmission, and when I was removing it, torque converter disconnected from the transmission, leaked everywhere. So you gotta watch that and be careful and try to keep this converter on the transmission when you start to pull it back, just to prevent a mess. But we got it disconnected, and that is how you remove a transmission out of a 22 Ford Ranger.